Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I thank my colleague, Mr. Sessions, for yielding me the time, and you have such time as I may consume.
The gentlelady is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, my colleague is certainly right. We have been here time after time after time on this issue, but we are standing on the brink, I think, of the worst government shutdown in modern history. Unlike 1994, the pending government shutdown would reach across the entire federal government. In 1994, half of the congressional appropriations bills had been signed into law by the President, and as a result, the half of the federal agencies were able to operate during the shutdown. But this year, because of the draconian budget levels included in the misguided sequester, the majority was unable to pass a single appropriations bill into law. In fact, they ran out of money about halfway, well, certainly after they got through the defense budget, and for the first time since I've been in Congress, unable to pass a transportation bill. And because of that, again, we find ourselves in this terrible position. Now, as a result, should the government shut down, it is going to be more harmful and more widespread than the last one. And, Mr. Speaker, these are very real and very serious consequences that we face. And it is in the face of these consequences that the majority has chosen to continue what are only described as dangerous partisan games. We have indeed been here before. The first time, the majority wanted to defund the Affordable Care Act. And second, they decided to just delay it, but then on that bill, they threw in a chance to do away with the medical device tax, which will create a $1 trillion deficit increase over the next 10 years, and hit women's reproductive rights next time. And just today, we saw the First Lady of Texas, Ms. Nita Perry, who said in an interview that abortion should be a woman's right, and that she believed that women should have the right to choose. And we thank her for that and couldn't agree with her more. But this, again, now what are we coming up with today? Well, we're not going to back away from anything. We're just going to try to kill the health care bill, which we know we can't do. It's taking effect tomorrow morning. But what we're going to do now, they say, is to delay the mandate, which is a large part of the funding for the bill. And in addition to that, they've decided that members of Congress and our staffs will not be able to get the government copay that most people get. In fact, most people who have health care in America get it from their employer. And we are going to be denied being able to do that because Senator Grassley, who claimed he made a mistake, inserted that into the bill, and he said just this week that he did not mean for us not to be part of the government health care system, but that somebody had misappropriated his idea and wrote it wrong. So that's where we are with that today. But the majority's proposal now today is going to do that. And they're going to say to all these young people who come to Washington with such promise and such energy and such verve, really, to try to do something good for their country, and look forward so much to being able to have the great privilege of working in the capital of the United States, that they're not going to have the help with their health care, driving many of those, I think, to leave and to get other works, others to really not be able to get the health care that they need. So why do we do that? Heaven only knows. But frankly, I would be embarrassed, and I've mentioned this in the Rules Committee, to look around the room at the staff that we praise all the time for their ingenuity, for their faithfulness, for their willingness to stay as we did Sunday morning until 12:30 without ever making any complaint at all, by punishing them with health care. As offensive as this proposal is, it's a fitting example of the vision for America that the majority has. It's a vision of an America where insurance companies are put back in charge of the health care system, where price gouging and price discrimination goes unchecked, where the most vulnerable among us, including cancer patients, the victims of domestic violence, children born with pre-existing conditions, can be denied access to health care. The New York Times did some wonderful pieces on that in the Sunday Times yesterday, talking about people who have been burdened so much that they are literally bankrupt from the cost of health care. This bill takes every step to avoid that in the future. I'm not sure that people understand that what happens is that we have turned around what used to be the yearly cap insurance companies charged for their clients, and now say that if you are a person, a single person with your health insurance, that once you have paid out of pocket $6,400 for medical procedures and medicine, the insurance company then for the rest of the year will pay your costs. What's not to like about that? If you're a family, $12,000 is the cost. You will not have to see what we saw yesterday in reading the Times, that people with cancer many times were unable at all to try to even provide the care, and that we know, and I know from the work that we have done with cancer patients, that many of them go untreated. If there's anything worse than getting cancer and to be diagnosed with cancer, it has to be being unable to pay for treatment. These are the things that the majority wants to do away with. I've never seen so much work in all my life to try to prevent 30 million Americans, our brothers, sisters, aunts and uncles, everybody, from being able to have health insurance. Many of them for the first time in their lives. I met a woman in the last campaign who told me that she was so excited because she had just signed up for Medicare. The woman was born with cerebral palsy, and under the present insurance laws, she was not at all insurable. So she went through her whole life bringing up children, running a household, driving a car, all the things that could cause the kinds of accidents that leave you permanently impaired without a dime's worth of health insurance. She was not alone in that. Children who had head injuries or other members of the family could often use up their lifetime limit of about $1 million in less than a year, and they were never insurable again in the United States. We're not going to go back to that. There's absolutely no idea. So there's something we can do here tonight. What we can do is vote this down, go back to the Rules Committee, take up the Senate clean bill, which is over here at the desk, pass that bill in the House and the rules, bring it here, pass it in the House in a bipartisan way, by the way, that wouldn't hurt, and then, lo and behold, that bill is ready to go to the President's desk. And we could get that signed, shutdown would be averted, health care would be available to people who desperately need it and desperately want it, and we should not continue to be the only industrialized country on the face of the earth that does not provide health care for its people. I strongly urge my colleagues to vote no on this rule and the underlying legislation and demand that we pass the Senate bill. And I